And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. BC Cancer's first treatment center officially opened in Vancouver on November 5th, 1938. What has never changed during the past 70-plus years is their clear focus on the quality of patient care, as well as their drive to improve detection and treatment options for patients through investigative research. On today's Open Connection, Ciara O'Flanagan.
So I'm originally from Ireland. I grew up in Dublin City, and I came to Canada, to Vancouver, about 5 years ago, which is when I joined the lab.
Tell me about your career choice and why did you choose that one?
I've always been interested in biology and science in general. So I went on to do an undergraduate in general sciences, specializing in cell biology. And then from there, I went on to pursue a PhD, also in cell biology, focused on cancer cell biology. So my entire research career has been focused on cancer research and on breast cancer research as well.
And I know a lot of people, when they go into cancer research specifically, there's an underlying reason for that. Is that the same with you?
I haven't had that much personal experience with cancer. I do know some people that have had it, and it's obviously very upsetting, and I know people who have died from it. But for me, it was a real genuine interest in the disease, knowing how much is unknown about it and how much we can still learn about it.
You know, when I was kind of doing a little research on you, there was like these $50 words I was coming across on what you do.
In general, I'm interested in the cancer cell as a whole. And more recently, we've been really interested in studying the genomics of cancer. So the DNA content of each cancer cell and how it changes over time. So that's what genomics is studying the whole genome of a cell and how it changes.
And I guess we should clarify, when it comes to cancer, that's almost like an umbrella phrase when it comes to, I guess, almost mutations when it comes to the cells and they're dividing incorrectly. Is that right?
That's correct. So cancer is kind of an umbrella term for over 200 diseases. And one of the main things that connects all of those cancers is the presence of mutations. So as every cell divides, there's the possibility of it making a mistake when it's replicating its DNA. And that mistake, similar to what we see with COVID variants, causes a cancer variant. And so that's what makes it very tricky for treatment, because as those cancers sort of develop and evolve within a patient, sometimes it can lead to drug resistance.
One of those, of course, is chemotherapy, which is basically throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it targets those dividing cells, the ones that are making their new DNA, and it's quite toxic to those cells.
Now, of course, when it comes to this research, I mean, you're researching the genome inside of a cancer cell.
The study that we just published, we sequenced the genomes from over 300 breast and ovarian cancer patients who donated their tissue so that we could sequence them to learn more about their diseases.
So you're able to actually see what happens and then kind of work from there?
Yeah, so having this resource of these patient tissues really allows us to see over time, outside of the patient, what happens to those tumors over time, what genetic changes happen over time, which might in the future allow us to better tailor our therapies for those patients.
You don't do this alone. You're with other colleagues. Other people know through writing articles and stuff. And I'll be honest, I kind of looked at one of those articles and I got lost, I think, in the first 15 words. But one of them kind of stuck out to me, and that was serrated, something to do with serrated cells.
By being able to study the single cells that we have been able to for this study, we've been able to identify structural chromosomal changes, so literally physical changes to the chromosome that vary from cell to cell. And one of those changes was this serrated appearance. So similar to what we see with the serration on a knife, we see this difference in the chromosome from cell to cell within the same tumor.
What impact does this serrated edge happen or does to the existing cell?
This is just the first time that we've actually seen this in patients, so it's very exciting. But one of the things that this might give some sort of advantage to a given cell is that it's basically adding on extra bits of chromosome with every cell division. So you get another bit of the same chromosome. So you might actually get several copies of the same gene, and that gene might be something that causes cancer. So the more that you have of it, you could potentially have more likelihood of getting cancer or a more aggressive cancer. But that we still need to delve more deeply into that to see if that's the case.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
The word cancer elicits fear and uncertainty. Today, we have an opportunity to turn fear into promise. We are at a critical moment in time where our need for world-class cancer care races alongside BC Cancer's potential to deliver. It's a race we can win. We already are. Fueled by our donor community, BC Cancer experts achieve the unbelievable. They have revolutionized the global understanding of cancer, pioneering early detection and precision treatment. Now, with you, they will go beyond belief.
The Beyond Belief campaign is the most ambitious healthcare fundraiser in BC's history. Together, we will raise $500 million to elevate and expand world-leading cancer care for every single British Columbian. This campaign will activate BC Cancer's experts, advance research and innovation, and accelerate access to care closer to home.
When I was diagnosed, research was making hope tangible. I was able to be part of something new, something innovative, something creative that scientists had been working on.
BC Cancer was able to provide me tools and provide me solutions to help take care of myself today and tomorrow and to the future.
This is more than a campaign. This is a movement, one where we all play a part. Together, we can turn ideas into breakthroughs and hope to reality.
Thank you for staying with us. In a lab setting, there are a lot of dangerous chemicals that are used to carry out a variety of tests. For these reasons, it is critical for everyone to make sure they have the right laboratory PPE to meet their needs. Let us return the conversation with Ciara.
We're quite careful about when we're working in the lab. We always wear PPE and we always wear face masks and we always have our hair back. We're very careful, especially when we're working with precious patient tissues. We don't want to contaminate them or make them useless.
Now, this tissue that was donated, you said there was 138, was it? Or 300?
So there was 138 patients, breast cancer patients. So it was many years that we were receiving these tissues from patients. I think the entire accrual was over 5 years to get to the number that we could start to study in the detail that we did.
How many cells do you kind of test in a day?
We have kind of custom built a means to sequence single cell genomes. And per day, we may sequence about 2,000 cells. And for this study, we actually sequenced over 35,000 cells, which really allowed us to find a bit of more significance than if we had fewer.
You know, the old fingerprint person, they kind of look at one cell and they kind of look at the other cell. Did you have to almost kind of do the same thing?
Genomics, it's a very data-heavy science. So we generate a lot of computational data that needs to be analyzed by data scientists. So similar to what you would do when you're looking at a fingerprint, you compare the kind of fingerprint of the entire genome from one cell to another using quite complicated analysis pipelines.
How has, I guess, the BC Cancer Center been for you to help you do this research?
So the BC Cancer Research Center is like a really, really great environment for early stage scientists and developing scientists. We're very fortunate that we are associated with BC Cancer Foundation, so we have good links with the foundation and other charities. So there's a lot of funding, which really helps to support this type of research. Unfortunately, science is very expensive, so we rely a lot on donations to make this type of breakthrough. But the BC Cancer Research Centre is a great environment for training and for furthering your research endeavours.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
In the last 5 years, I'm most proud about the fact that the BC Cancer Foundation has worked with generous donors to secure several transformational donations that are truly world-leading in bringing new innovations and new treatment to cancer research. Without those significant investments, there wouldn't be the same amount of hope. I think the "we won't stop" messaging is brilliant. It's exactly what gets me up every single day. We won't stop until cancer is no more. And the BC Cancer Foundation is committed to doing everything we can to fund BC Cancer and the staff there who work tirelessly every single day to tackle this disease.
What Ciara is doing is not a job. It's something that she is very, very passionate about. BC Cancer Foundation is like a family. There's a heart in it. And, your leader has to be at the center of the heart.
There's been a huge number of major fundraising successes, from having 2 of the largest donations ever recorded by cancer charities in Canada. Ciara is very tenacious and relentless in achieving her goals of maximizing donations and making sure the foundation fulfills its mission for cancer patients.
Ciara, it's been 5 years and they've gone by very quickly. They've been record-setting in terms of not only awareness, but fundraising. And we're so happy to have you lead the BC Cancer Foundation. The people of British Columbia, and indeed the people of Canada, are very, very fortunate.
Over the next 5 years, the BC Cancer Foundation has enormous opportunity to encourage more British Columbians to support our cause, knowing that we won't stop, and to continue to deepen the meaningful personal connections we have with each and every donor, because at the end of the day, people give to people, not institutions. To the 100,000 donors who support the BC Cancer Foundation, my message to you is simple. You are giving hope. You are giving hope to the thousands of families who are battling cancer today. And without...
Welcome back to Open Connection. Knowledge is not only cumulative, it grows exponentially. Those with a rich base of factual knowledge find it easy to learn. The richer the knowledge base, the more smoothly and effective these cognitive processes operate. Let us return to the conversation with Ciara. When it comes to doing a research of this cancer, which is, we know, more than just one disease, the accumulation of prior research really helps you make breakthroughs.
We kind of always stand on the shoulders of giants when we're investigating new things and trying to find new mutations and things like that. So we spend a lot of time looking at the literature, everything that is already known about these cancers, to see what is kind of a gap in the knowledge and how we can move forward.
And now that in essence you're kind of mapping the genome of a cancer cell, what's do you foresee down the road as far as changing how we treat cancer?
The kind of studies that we found here and the kind of mutations that we identified may present novel targets for future drugs, for future therapies. The fact that these are actually especially prevalent in a cohort of patients that have poorer survival means that those particular patients may benefit from us knowing that they have these mutations. They may be targets for those particular patients for whom current therapies are kind of failing them.
Do you foresee that once you say, for example, map this genome out, do you foresee able to contact families or people saying, hey, things here, don't look so good. Maybe we should start, working on some preventative measures. Do you think that's possible?
So the actual mutations that we identified in this study are the type of mutations you would see already in a tumor that's already developed. So they may not be kind of biomarkers of future disease, but they might be biomarkers for potential therapies of a patient who already has a tumor.
Where do you see this research going? If you could have your Harry Potter wand and say, okay, this is what we're going to be doing, what would you do?
I think one of the dreams of this type of this field of science is to be able to use genomic sequencing on every patient and know enough about the genome for a given cancer that we would be able to say, this pattern of genomic instability, this pattern of genes that you have activated here, this is the therapy for you, and it's very guided based on your genome. And I think that we're at the very early stages of that, but this study is an example of how you can find very different genomes even within a patient, and it's important to study them to understand them better, that we can potentially have guided therapies for each patient.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Early detection of cancer is important because it often means the person is most likely to have treatment options that are much less aggressive while still maintaining incredibly positive treatment outcomes. In this final segment of Open Connection, Ciara shares why early detection is important, especially in the most aggressive forms of cancer. People won't know unless they go to test, right? Testing is very, very important.
Early testing is very important. Being able to detect any of these diseases at the earliest point is really important in being able to treat them early, to prevent them from relapsing, or to make sure that they're able to get the benefit from treatment. The patients that we study in our lab are the deadliest forms of breast and ovarian cancer. So they're a subset of breast and ovarian cancer that are particularly deadly. And so for them, there is no targeted therapy. There is only chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or surgery. So being able to study them in the way that we can allows us to maybe open some new avenues for treatment. We're definitely very collaborative, and we have weekly meetings where we tell people, you should try this, and there's a lot of talk amongst labs as well. So it's a very nice environment to discuss what might be working, what might not be working, and how best to sort of progress your science. I would just like to thank the breast and ovarian cancer patients who really generously donated their tissue to us so that we could study it. And identify these mutations that in the future might help other patients.
A typical day in my life is pretty busy. I have my 5-year-old son, and then I come up to UNBC. I'm completing a public administration and community development program with a minor in First Nation Studies. I'm working at the Northern Women's Center. I'm also on Senate at UNBC. When I'm out on the lake in the kayak, I can just be myself. I don't have to think about being a student, being a leader, being a mom. I can just be me. I can focus on the stories about the land and focus on being in my community, in place now. Being in my kayak, I can just be Nekazewoten. I have a lot of responsibilities for my son, my community, my schooling, my education. I wouldn't be able to participate as well if I wasn't healthy. Getting regular PAPs is important. I started getting screenings because I was told that they're necessary. It was just something it seemed that you do when you're a woman. You take care of your body, you take care of your spirituality, you take care of your emotions. I think a lot of Indigenous women have mistrust of the medical system, but also just doctors in general. There's also this fear of getting PAPs because a lot of Indigenous women have suffered sexual assaults, rapes, just a lot of intergenerational trauma. The UN definition of genocide includes measures to prevent births. Growing up, I was always told stories by my sisters and my family members about forced sterilizations that happened from the medical industry. I initially felt very scared. It took a long time for me to go back to the doctor. After the procedure, I thought it was important to write my doctor a letter about my experiences with intergenerational trauma and the procedure that I had. Once I wrote her the letter, she had asked if she could take a snippet of it and bring it to her students to share how intergenerational trauma affects the process of women getting the health care they need. Healthcare providers should understand how intergenerational trauma impacts Indigenous people's health. I think health is important to my future because of my son. He's a very important part of my life and he's my family. Making sure that I'm healthy for him is really important. It's important for life givers and Two-Spirit people to get regular PAP tests. They can detect irregularities sooner before it becomes cancer. It's important to make screening a regular part of your life.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but that connects from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.